You think these are serial murders?
I don't know. First one I found dates back to the 60s. The only link between all these cases is the symbol.
The symbol is associated with a pagan deity named Gabagool. He consumes the souls of human children.
Hey guys, welcome back to Spooky Tuesday, the podcast where one of our hosts has broken her collarbone and is now on Norco. I'm Sydney Thompson.
I'm Monica Height. I'm the one who broke her collarbone.
And I'm Chelsea Duff, and this week we're talking about Sinister. We're going to do our best because Monica couldn't really take notes with one hand. Sydney and I watched it together, but we were met with just an absolute flurry of ads. So, you know, we kept the mood going, and it was very spooky. But if there were some moments where our flow got broken up, like, it's not our fault. But that said, it was an extremely scary movie. I had never seen it. I know you guys had, right?
I love this movie. Oh my God, I love this movie.
So freaking good. And it definitely holds up with the second watch. But the one thing I will say is that my movie forgetfulness didn't really work here because this movie is so fucking disturbing that it's ingrained into my mind forever. So didn't pack the same punch the second time around, but God, it's still just like a beautiful work of art. Chelsea, how did you feel?
This was one of the first scary movies that I've watched with you guys for the podcast, but also with our OG spooky crew where I like legit turned all the lights off. And you know, I was glad to be living alone in the sense that there were no other family members here that I thought might turn on me, especially no small children. But also then you are alone. So it's kind of you win some, you lose some. You know what I mean?
So we specifically told you not to Google anything about this movie. Like, don't watch the trailer because this movie, I feel, once you watch the trailer, it loses all of the spookiness because the trailer just gives away too many things. That's why we were like, don't watch the trailer, don't do it. Don't do it, Chelsea.
It's so good going into this blind because, like, it can go just with the premise, you know, like, or not the premise, just at the beginning, like, it can go so many different ways. Like, is there going to be a serial killer that comes in and into the house? Like, is it a ghost thing? Like, you have no idea which direction it's going to go. And, you know, you never really expect it to go to, like, ancient demon who eats children and lives in photographs and Super 8 camera footage. Like, it's not what you would expect. So I'm glad you didn't have any idea going in.
Yeah, there was a moment where I was texting with Sydney and I was like, is this a paranormal movie? And she was like, kind of. And I didn't really know what that meant. And the answer was yes, but she didn't want to, I guess, give too much away.
Well, it's a paranormal movie, but also like a demon movie and also a haunted house movie.
Okay.
Like it, and technically a slasher movie as well. So
yeah.
It,
not
like,
everybody got
mixes.
slashed.
No, some other people will go about all the other deaths because they are intense.
Oh, Jesus.
I've got a favorite.
Oh, man.
Right? Our favorite death in this one is just going to be so good.
It's like your
There's so
favorite
many
family
options.
murder in this one. Like, you can't pick just
Right.
one person. You pick, like, a whole crew. You pick a squad.
Oh, what squad murder did you enjoy?
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, this is like a fucking annihilation. It's not even a murder. It's just like the squad is gone. Forget about him. Oh man, for me when I was watching this today, because I literally watched this like 30 minutes ago, so it's really fresh, and so I am like actively anxious from watching it, because also like scary movies on Norco are like a different thing. Like it sneaks up on you in a different way. But it was like broad daylight when I was watching it. And this movie takes place almost entirely in darkness. So I had to like block out all of my windows, which was even more unsettling probably for my neighbors. They're like, why is Monica boarding up her windows right now in the middle of the day? But you know, it had to be done. Otherwise I would have just been watching like my reflection in the screen for 2 hours, and that's pretty horrifying reflection right now because like I said, I am puffy and I am broken.
I will say, none of us claim to be experts in cinematography, but this movie was shot, like some of the shots in this movie were just so well done.
Yes.
And you're just like, ooh, yeah, I like this. Lots of silhouette work because it is a lot done in the dark.
Also, like, I hate when movies do what this one did, but like hate because it's so good and it just puts me on edge. But whenever there's a shot where like there's a ton of like dead background space, I'm always like, oh fuck, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. And this one, they did that for like almost every single shot, but not every single time something came. So I was just like on edge the entire time. I was like, don't show me the whole backyard in the background while he's sipping whiskey if someone's not going to come out. Like there's a scene of
Anytime you can see an empty hallway while two characters are talking, you're just like, fuck, 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 fuck. And then it doesn't always deliver, which just makes you feel more on edge for the rest of the movie, 100%.
at the very beginning of this movie when they've just moved into the new house and Ethan Hawke, our love, is in
100%.
bed
Every
with
time
his,
I wrote his name down this time, I was like, Ethan Hawke in my head.
that's his name. That's his name. That's his name. But he's in the bed snuggled up with his wife while his wife is just reading him his rights. And like I paused the movie and rewinded like 3 times because I thought there was like a ghost girl running behind him, probably was the Norco, but in reality it was just his foot and he was kicking his feet around while he was laying on the bed, and I was so fucking mad. I got all scared. I was like, oh, I never caught that little scare before. Monica, it was not a scare. You're on drugs.
I will say, the impression that I got from you guys last week was that Sinister would redeem Ethan Hawke, and I absolutely felt that it just added to the Ethan Hawke is trash pile.
But he was so good in this. Like his character is absolutely a trash person. He's a garbage man. His profession is garbage man. Not to put any shame on the garbage man profession. It's a beautiful profession. This is a separate type.
It's a noble
just
profession.
for Ethan Hawke, who is a little poop person in this. I hate him. But he was a good actor, and I thought he looked handsome. Maybe I think that Ethan Hawke is handsome, and that's why I like him so much. I think that might be what it is.
I think separate from scary movies, he's handsome, but he was very sweaty in this movie. And I
blame him.
I know that like showing a character sweaty is supposed to somehow just vibe with their like descent into madness, because they do that in any movie where a character's slowly losing their marbles. So like I get it, and I picked up on that vibe, and it did its job, but the dad cardigan could not save the sweatiness. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. I was into the dad cardigan.
I
Oh,
was
I
super
loved the dad
into
cardigan.
it.
I'm just saying it was
Oh.
not quite powerful enough to undo the work that the sweatiness did.
I disagree.
Wrong.
My first thought, this film opened, and there's the creepy part in the beginning with the hanging, and I'm not talking about that. When it starts, and Ethan Hawke picks up a box, and he turns around from the moving truck, and he looks right at the camera, or not right at the camera. My first thought was, hot. That was the first thought I had about the whole movie. I was like, hot. And then I was like, I went to type it, and I couldn't type it.
That's just the sweater. Like, it's not actually Ethan Hawke you're attracted to. It's his big, oversized, cozy sweater.
With
You are
elbow
sexually
pads.
I think
attracted
I'm
to.
attracted to Ethan Hawke. Like, I'm gonna look up some young Ethan Hawke pictures, and I'm
Watch
gonna also
Gattaca.
investigate. Yes, I've seen Gattaca, because didn't we get to watch that like
We
3
100%
separate
watched
times in
it.
science class in high school?
Yeah, like 9th grade biology was all about that shit.
Exactly.
I mean, I am attracted to Maya Hockey, so it would only just make sense that I'm also attracted to her dad.
She's got two hot parents, you know.
Yeah,
She does.
exactly. So look, you just admitted it. That Ethan
I
Hawke is hot.
100% believe that
Hockey
Gattaca
hottie.
Ethan
I'm
Hawke
so
is
sorry.
the man of my dreams. I just don't know that I'm ready to commit to Sinister Ethan Hawke.
Well, no one would want to marry this man, Ethan
He's
Hawke. Dennis.
so awful. Okay, yes, Ethan Hawke did a very good performance, but the character just is so absolute bottom of the barrel shit pile. Hate him. His wife should leave him. I'm glad he got axed. I just
Yeah.
I didn't care for the guy.
No, okay. He shows up. He's got this nice cozy sweater. He's in a house made out of bricks, which is something I always like. And I had forgotten what this movie was about, kind of. So I forgot that he's a big trash poop man. But like we really don't like to see the washed up, fame mongering, like true crime writer. That's a man that I don't want to have in my life. It's just, oh God. And him watching all of his old interviews throughout the film, like
Ugh.
the cringiest thing I've seen. That was maybe one of the scariest parts, like him
Okay,
reliving his fame.
let's do a little backstory here. So, Ethan Hawke and his family move in to a house where an entire family was murdered and one of the kids were missing because he writes true crime books, I guess, which honestly, he was ahead of the true crime wave in
Mhm.
2012 before it even hit. Like, he knew.
Wow.
At this point, he would also be doing a podcast instead of a book. He would have his own serial moment for this, just like audio recording everything.
Oh,
And he finds a rolls of film in the attic, which just like, why? Like, and also,
and he brings
did
them
you
down. Like, leave those there, sir. Leave
but
those there.
the first death in the movie, besides we see the family hanging at the first one, is the scorpion that he smooshes, which
That's true. That's
is
a good
very
catch.
important in the end.
Mhm.
It's very important in the end of the scorpion smoosh. And he's watching all these like old vintage they're Super 8
Yeah,
films,
Super
yeah.
8 films. Yeah.
And they are all snuff films, every single one of them. And they all have like really charming names.
The
like
names of the
like
movies
Family
are
Barbecue.
the best part of that's the only like joke, the only like happy like moment of levity in this entire film is like the like tongue-in-cheek names for all these snuff films. Family Barbecue, Pool Party,
Pool Party.
Just Hanging Out. That's for the one where they all are hung from a tree. Ha ha ha. Love it. We love that. Great joke. Very sad, very scary. But okay, something that immediately took me out of it with this movie, even though I love it so much, is like he finds these films, right? Okay, also, it's night one of them being in the house and shit is already fucked. Like, I was just like, dude, can you just like sleep in the house one night before you start unearthing like the horrors of like this demon? Like, please. But he gets this box. He's not like, oh, this is sus, I should wait. And then he tries to set up this Super 8 thing, and it's very complicated, this like projector. And it really took me out of it because I was like, how the hell does he know how to do this? He does not even look it up. He just immediately knows how to string this fancy like old-timey camera. And I was like, there's no way you know about that, Ethan Hawke. There's no way.
He might, if he was around in the 60s and 70s. Like, it probably was something of his childhood. Nostalgic.
God. Well, okay.
I don't remember how to do everything I learned how to do in my childhood, though, and I'm much closer to my childhood than Ethan Hawke is.
Exactly.
I want to know the timeline of this movie. Like, how long from like in movie time was it?
5 days,
they in
maybe?
this? That's what I'm saying. Like, it feels like a week.
Seriously. No, it
were they
be
in there
longer
for
than that.
months? Were they in there for days? Like,
I think it
how
was literally like 5 days.
I
Maybe
think
not
so,
exactly,
too.
but
Because there's that point at the very end of the film where Deputy so-and-so, LOL, do we ever find out his name? That's
No,
what
and he is in the sequel apparently, and they just call him ex-deputy so-and-so.
Yeah, he doesn't deserve a name because he's a little worm boy, but whatever.
No, I liked him.
I liked him so much.
He's a sweetheart, but he's also such a little fanboy. It's hilarious. But yeah, he's like, oh, you guys just sped up the timeline by moving out of the house. So I think that like they were in the house for like 1 week tops. Because he's obsessed with these movies. Every single night he goes back and watches them again. Ethan Hawke does. So it doesn't take him that long to fucking figure out that he needs to get out of Dodge.
And also, he's not sleeping, so that's really exacerbating his whole losing his shit problem.
I know.
So it could be they were only in there for a week because trivia has told us that the writer, the director, one of them I don't remember off the top of my head, had a nightmare after watching The Ring and came up with the concept for this movie. And so, as we all know, The Ring is 7 days. And so maybe... Great. Thank you for that, Monica.
Oh, no problem. That's the North Code speaking.
But so, like, maybe this is just a week.
I just feel like there are not a lot of days that we aren't seeing. You know what I mean? Like, there's not a lot of implied passage of time here.
No. And I like the idea that he just completely unravels in 1 week, like, just immediately.
He was already okay, here's the thing. He was not well when they moved into this house. That's the bottom line. Because he is already desperate. He wrote... His backstory is he started with fiction. I guess nobody was really biting. So he switched to true crime. He wrote a book called Kentucky Blood that was like super successful, where he actually helped solve a crime. And even the police officers like that book because he did a good job. But he tried to ride that wave, and he wrote 2 more true crime books that it seems, we don't really get the full story, but it seems they kind of just hampered the investigation instead of helping it. And they just like complicated things and made them more messy and potentially led to someone getting away with a crime, the sheriff implies. So this is kind of like his last ditch effort, and you can tell that he is going off the rails because there's a moment when they first moved in, his wife asks him like, okay, be honest with me, did we move 2 houses down from a murder house again? And he's like, no. And he's not lying, but he's also not telling her that he moved them directly into the murder house. And that's where I was like, Ethan Hawke, put yourself into the dumpster.
Seriously, like, he is such a trash husband. Like, you don't tell your wife that you're moving to the murder house, but I mean, I guess there's no way he could have told his wife that they were moving into the murder house, because there's no way in hell they would have moved into the murder house, because this wife, this woman, what is her name? I don't know. We're gonna find out. Tracy is a fucking genius. She gets the anti-dumb bitch award. She gets the genius award for this movie because everything she says is spot on, golden, incredible, all just beautiful truths being spoken out of her mouth, and she just is ignored, and then she gets chopped up. It's not fair. She deserved better.
She did deserve better, but she also, like, night one, like, right off the bat, immediately was like, the second shit goes south, I am leaving you, and I'm taking the kids, and I'm going to my sister's. And then by night 2, you're, like, begging her to follow through on this threat.
Yes! Oh, but that's because okay. One thing that also doesn't make any sense to me throughout this entire movie, there are, like, multiple times where, like, Ethan Hawke is, like, hearing things run around in the night, and then he's running around in the night, he's going up into the attic, he's going back down the attic, all this stuff, and, like, the reaction time from the family is, like, no reaction, like, ever at all. Like, dude, like, what's happening with them that they are not noticing that he is pacing the house and running all around all night long? Like, there should have been more red flags earlier.
maybe that's just what he normally does. So they're just like, oh, Dad, silly goose. Like, maybe
He's
that's
got
a
the
thing.
nighttime runnies. He's got the zoomies, just like the family dog.
I mean, she does say that he broke out the whiskey like immediately while writing this book. And she says that's like normal behavior for him, but it usually doesn't hit until like 6 months into the process, and that's when he really gets crazy. So it sounds like this is all normal behavior. It's alarming because it's happening right off the bat, but also remember that Trevor the son has sleep terrors and apparently folded himself into a box at one point in this movie with no one noticing. So like they've clearly learned how to sleep through some midnight mischief.
That
That
scene. Let's talk about that scene because I just couldn't understand what was occurring at first. And I was like, I don't remember it getting so paranormal so quickly. Like, who does that? Who goes full freaking grudge girl, ring girl, like in a night terror? Is this a real thing? Can anyone tell me about night terrors? I'm scared.
They're a real thing. Sleepwalking is a real thing. I don't know that sleep naked putting yourself in a cardboard box is a thing. I haven't heard of that before, especially
Sleep
to
contortionism?
to unfold yourself in such an acrobatic manner. That's not something I would expect. But I don't know. I will say that part, while it was disturbing on like a normal scary movie level, what was disturbing to me is that after Ethan Hawke found himself discovering his son unfolding in a box, when he heard more noises again, he like went around poking at things knife first, like opening cardboard boxes with a knife. Like, sir, the last cardboard box you found, your son was inside. You're gonna stab it? Like, just irresponsible parenting here.
I did not realize that at all. That's so stupid. God, Ethan Hawke, you're a failure as a father. I'm so sorry, but it's true.
The other thing is when the kid Trevor, and he is doing more sleepwalking and he ends up outside in a bush.
Yes.
Like,
Oh, fuck
that would have
part.
never flown in my house because we all had sensors on our doors. So, like, my parents would have heard the beep beep on anything that opened. Like, if you knew your child had sleep things, wouldn't you, like, I guess maybe you're 2 days into a new house, but still. They were like, we gotta put a lock on his room, man. Like, this is getting out of control.
Yeah, and I like how they're like trying to mislead you. They're like, "Ooh, look, Trevor drew a family being hung. Trevor did a scary contortionist thing out of a box. Scary Trevor went outside and rolled his eyes in his head in a bush, just like the what's his name, Gabagool. What's his name?
Gabagool.
Just like Bagool. Was it Bagool?
Yeah, Gabagool. Okay, fine.
I'm sorry. Adam has not stopped saying that word to me. He loves The Sopranos. So it's laying heavily on my mind. I almost said Babadook. So, okay, my point. It's like, oh, Trevor is the fucked up one. No. How did they not notice that cute little redhead baby girl had drawn such a scary freaking painting on her bedroom wall? Like, how, like, there's a lot of failure of parenting here. Like, it was a very large mural that she painted of Bagool.
Stephanie.
Stephanie.
It was of Stephanie.
Oh no, that was but before that, before they drew Stephanie, she drew
when we
the tree with the same thing that Trevor drew. The family hung from the tree with, what the hell is his name? Is it Bagool? It is Bagool. Okay.
Or Mr. Boogie.
Mr. Boogie.
Hey.
Hey.
It's easier for me to say, so I'm gonna stick to that for now. And she just drew Mr. Boogie in like a very sinister fashion. Like, they should notice these things.
Very what fashion?
Sinister. I'm so sorry.
Hey. Yeah, the mom was doing her best. It felt like she had a very full plate. And Ethan Hawke was not picking up any slack whatsoever. They were in a tough spot. and I just didn't love their dynamic. And I didn't love that they got in that like one fight and he was yelling at her, like screaming at her. It just felt like, first of all, you're the one who's wrong. You're the one who's doing everything shit. Don't yell. Who yells? I don't know. She was right and she was perfect. Ashley needed a closer eye. Trevor needed a closer eye. They needed two parents, clearly, and one of them was just like busy trying to reclaim his lost fame. And I didn't care for that because, and this is like maybe a personal thing, because while I really enjoy true crime and like a well done true crime podcast, I also feel like there are so many true crime podcasts that like are not at all concerned with ethical reporting and journalism,
Mm-hmm.
and they're just like excited to talk about murder, and you know, I guess there's value in that for some people, and I won't pretend like I haven't listened to podcasts like that and enjoyed them in the past, but also like in reality those are real people's families, and within the premise of this movie, Ethan Hawke is writing about real people, and he moved into the house where those real people died, and he has not covered things responsibly in the past. He's clearly
Yeah.
not covering things responsibly now. He finds these snuff films. He knows one of them is related to the current crime he's working on, and he's like, should I give these to the police? Like, let me call them. And then as soon as he's on the phone with the police, he's like, actually, if I could break this story, wouldn't that go a far way to getting me back on the New York Times bestseller list? And it just feels like at every opportunity, he is putting his book and his fame ahead of his family and also ahead of justice in general. And they like make a point of that, because there's a moment in an old interview he watches where somebody's like, what'd feel better, like getting justice for the family or seeing your book go to #1? And he's like, justice for sure. So you like, you know, now obviously what he's really chasing is that #1 again, but just like, ugh, I didn't like it.
No, he's so irreverent to the family, and to the family that had just passed, the murdered family, and to his own family. Like, there's a moment that really puts it into perspective where little Stephanie, right? That's a little redhead.
Stephanie is the missing girl from the family. Ashley is the daughter.
Ashley, the daughter, helps Tracy, the mom, make his coffee just a special way that he loves it so much. She does all this stuff to help him. Then she goes to his freaking like death cave, his writing room, to give him the coffee, and he takes it from her and immediately gets a phone call and just shuts the door in her face. And it's just like, yeah, that's kind of what you're doing to your family the whole movie, dude. Like, Jesus Christ. She's a freaking adorable little baby who's a budding artist. Like, please tell her she did a good job. If I had a little child that would make me French press coffee exactly how I liked it whenever I want, I would praise that child daily. Give her whatever she wants. Come on.
Okay. What was the scariest part of this movie for y'all?
Oh, okay. I mean, this is going to be a lot of people's answer. But the part that really just messed me up, I remember the first time I watched it because I knew it was coming this time. So it didn't pack the same punch. But once he's downloaded all the films or recorded whatever the films onto his computer, and he's gotten to the one, I'm not sure which one it was, where he zooms in on Bagool's face, and he has it zoomed in, and he's on the phone, and all of a sudden Bagool, it's paused, and Bagool freaking like turns his head even though it's paused to look at him. Oh, I passed away. I left. I'm on a different life. I'm on like my third life after that. The first time around, like that, just I was rocked to my core. No, goodbye.
Looking at my notes, there was one moment where I wrote out loud, or in caps, I wrote, I fucking gasped out loud, and then, oh my god, it's him, and then the little hands, and then so many little hands. And I think that was the moment where he's like watching the films again, and I can't remember if he's watching his new digital copy on his computer or if he's watching the film, but
No,
he's somehow
himself.
yeah, he's like in the film now on the computer, and then these little baby children ghost blue hands come up and grab him. Didn't like that. For me, that's the moment where I like went full caps lock on my computer.
That's when he went up to the attic because he heard something up there, and he started filming on his phone, like what was around him to like see. And I think that's like right after he finds the lid to the box, and it has all the drawings from the little kids. Anyway, then he falls through the ground, and he like gets himself on camera. I think is what happened, and those little baby hands show up. Absolutely, big no.
The baby hands were so creepy because like they didn't look like human hands. I was like, I don't like this.
Yeah. At first I thought it was Gabagool, but then there were a million of them, and I'm like, it's worse that it's the babies. It's way worse.
It's worse. After Trevor was being a weirdo outside, Ethan Hawke went to go get his baseball bat outside and like do more snooping around. And then all of a sudden there's just a random big scary dog in the yard.
The Grim.
Right? Like, so he's having this standoff with the dog and is like, please don't eat me, Mr. Dog. Like, I'm not close enough to my bat. Like, I can't do this right now. And then
he's giving more attention to that fucking scary dog than to his children the entire movie. Sorry.
Facts. But then there's like a creepy musical keynote in it, and all of a sudden behind it you see all these dead children ghosts in the back. And I had forgotten that existed. Like, in my brain, I was like, oh, fuck. And so I jumped and spilled my wine all over myself.
Okay, I have a question about the dog, actually.
Yes.
So, the scorpion that got squished, and at one point he finds a snake in the attic as well. And then when he's on video call with Vincent D'Onofrio, Professor Jonas or whatever, that guy is like...
the Jonas Brothers. I'm so sorry.
Professor Jonas Brothers.
Let's blame it on the Norco. I'm so sorry.
The video call with Professor Jonas Brothers, they say that the scorpion and the snake are both like Gabagool's forms as animals. Do we think that the dog is another form that hasn't been documented? Do we think it was just a normal dog? Like, what was the deal there? Was there symbolism to that, or was it just like another scary moment?
I thought, okay, after watching the end, in the moment, I thought maybe this was like the dog of the family that just died, but that's not true. I don't think. I feel like I need to rewatch the ending again, but I feel like there's some sort of beast, in those photos that Professor Jonas Brothers showed at the very end of the film. And maybe that was it. I feel like it was probably another incarnation of Gabagool, Mr. Boogie himself. Yeah. But could just be there's a raging dog problem in this town. There are these wild dogs who show up at night and just growl at you and then don't do anything about it and run away. So...
Well, when they are trying to leave town, when Ethan Hawke is finally like, okay, shit's fucked irreparably and we need to go, and he packs his family up and they get in the car and they just like speed out of town city limits, but they're pulled over first by the sheriff. Mm-hmm. He's like, we're doing what you said, we're leaving for good. And the sheriff is like, did you get bullied away? Like, did you get bullied into leaving town? So maybe the dog is from someone who did a small bullying attempt.
Somebody else is a dog loose.
Yeah,
the dog
we're not
was
ready
like,
to commit
this is
to something
sus.
bigger, but we'll just do like a small dog moment, and maybe that'll be enough.
Oh yeah, we'll just release this rabid dog, and it'll attack Ethan Hawke, and that'll be it. That'd be pretty extreme bullying to release an angry dog into the home of your enemy. Like that's.
But it chilled out so fast. You know what I mean? Like it calmed down real quick, and then it was just like bye, and it like trotted off.
True.
Yeah,
true.
even the dog knew it wanted no smoke from these dead ghost children.
Absolutely. The dog saw the kids, and it was like, oh, I love kids. And then I was like, not this kind. And then it was Audi 3000. I respect it.
Okay. I have other questions actually about this film
Please,
that I've been
please.
thinking about. So obviously the ghost children, murdered children are like tethered to the tapes, and obviously the tapes can kind of go wherever Bagul wills them because they follow Ethan Hawke's family back to their old house.
Hmm.
What triggers them, do we think? Because there are some real time gaps. I'll tell you guys what the years are. So on the tapes that Ethan Hawke finds, there's Pool Party 66, and then there's BBQ 79, Lawn Work 86, Sleepy Time 98, and Family Hanging Out 11. And then their family becomes House Painting 12. So from the first one, Pool Party, there's 13 years until the next one, and then 7 years until the one after that, 12 years until the one after that, 13 years until the one after that, and then 1 year between the hanging family and Ethan Hawke's family.
I feel like it could be due to like a bunch of different things because what the professor said is that they believed that Bagul himself lived within the images. So it could be that they're not as snooty nosy as Ethan Hawke, these other families, and didn't watch those videos until later on. Or, maybe they were just able to grin and bear the horror of like being like freaked out every night by little ghost babies for a long, 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 long period of time before they moved, and then they just moved. Or also, might have taken a long time for people to move in to these homes where horrible, horrible, bad, bad things happened. 'Cause
Yeah,
that's
that
how it
was one
works,
of my
right?
theories, was that it took a while for the homes to sell after there was like a scary murder.
Yeah.
Also, it's possible that there was like a different family living there in between who didn't have kids. And so there were
Mhm.
no spooky children to turn on their families.
Yeah, because
Um,
he only ate children, right?
yeah, he's a child
Yeah.
eating demon.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
The
like
good kind.
if I moved into this house and didn't, have any kids, or maybe they rented, you know what I mean? Like, we can't sell this murder house. Let's rent it to
I
a
feel like
nice millennial like person and then they move on. So like that could explain why.
yes,
My
but
other
actually
theory,
the thing is you have to purchase the home in order for the demon to possess your child. That's the
Bagul
only
is like,
way.
let me see the deed.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
need that name
No
on the
renters
freaking
allowed.
deed.
Okay, my other theory was that again, and this goes kind of piggybacks off Monica's, Ethan Hawke is nosier than most people, which is that because it's not triggered until you move to your new house, like Bagul doesn't eat you, and like, I don't know, maybe he's like, I'm full at this house, like I'm not going to be hungry again until we go to a new house. But my thought was, if you move in to a new house, maybe you're not investigating everything that was left behind in the attic. But when you move, maybe these families accidentally brought that box with them. They just like assumed it was theirs. And then once they're unpacking at their new house, they're like, oh, what's this? And that's when they check it out. And that's when they're like, uh-oh, child eating demons part of the family now. And that's what triggers Bagul. And it explains like, maybe I moved into this murder house. I didn't move again for another 13 years. Maybe I moved into this murder house, but I had no children. So I watched the videos and I got scared, but nobody killed me. And so I moved away again. Maybe this house was on the market for 6 years before somebody bought it.
I'm sitting here and I'm usually all high and mighty, like I'd never do that, blah blah blah. But if I found old videos in my attic, I'd be like, oh, sick, and I would watch them right away too. So
Oh, I would
100%.
100% watch these videos. We were arguing at the very end after they've moved back to their old house, and he's lit all these tapes on fire and they reappear at the house. And this time it's just like the extended cut director's edition
Oh God.
in there. And Chelsea's like, don't watch this, and I'm like, oh, you gotta watch it. Like, there's no way you're not watching this. I'm sorry, there's just no way that you're not watching the extended director's cut of these creepy snuff films.
Yeah, and I guess like see, here's the thing. Ethan Hawke's fatal flaw is that he trusts children too much. Because I would have been sussed out by these children disappearing from all these scenarios. I'm like, obviously these kids killed everybody. Like, it's got to be the kids doing it. But he was like, it could never be the kids. And he only realizes it's the kids when he watches the extended cuts and all these little dramatic ass kids get in front of the camera and they're like, shh, that's a secret I'll never tell. And then they disappear. I loved the drama in that. They're all like, I killed mommy, daddy, and then they just go poof into the night. My favorite is the kid who's at the pool party and he sits down and he's like, shh, and then he just is like, I'm gonna dive in, and then dives into nothing. Loved that one most. Super cute.
I see the value in, you've already watched the tapes. You see that there's now a director's cut edition. You are a true crime novel. You're still novelist. Like, you're still invested in this. You want to get to the bottom of things. But also, like, you are a father and you've accepted now that, like, you have to go and shit's cursed and Bagul's trying to eat your children, you know what I mean? I just feel like at that point, you know what the responsible choice is for your family, and once more, Ethan Hawke decided he couldn't be bothered to make it.
Also, like, once he's received, like, the second call from the detective, like, why wouldn't he pick that up also? Like, if this detective is incessantly calling him, that drove me so crazy. I'm like, why would Detective so-and-so be calling you? I know you're trying to make a point that you've moved on from writing the book and you're focusing on your family now, which you're obviously actually not, based on what Chelsea just said. But, like, he waits until the, like, final hour to answer this very important phone call, and I'm just like, I wish I could punch you in real life. That's how I felt. I texted that to you guys like 5 times throughout the film. Like, please let me punch Ethan Hawke.
Yeah, I just feel like, and you know, I think we're all gonna nominate Ethan Hawke for the Dumb Bitch Award, but I'll cut to the chase a little bit and just say, like, every time he had the opportunity to make a good decision, he just, like, made a bad decision. I just feel like burning the tapes, not gonna do anything. You have these digital copies also now, and you're gonna just drag them into the little recycling bin on your Mac laptop and then empty the little recycling bin on your Mac laptop. Like, you're not even going to try to wipe the whole hard drive or anything. You're not going to throw this into the bathtub. Like, just absolute bare minimum level of effort here.
Truly. And also, like, any sort of check-in with the children would have been cool at any point during the move or anything back to the original house, just to see, like, oh, you know, little Ashley is acting rather unhinged right now. Maybe we should see what's going on with her, because she was being sus for, like, that last little bit. She just also looks spooky.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember the exact timeline, but I feel like he had already heard from Professor Jonas Brothers about Gabagool, who's a child-eating demon, before Ashley was like, my friend Stephanie told me that her family died here, but she didn't want to be painted in her brother's room, so I painted her outside in the hallway. It's like, okay, you already know you unleashed a child-eating demon, and she's talking about talking to one of the ghosts, and you're going to be like, this is fine. It's not a big deal. Like, hello, please pay attention.
Again, it all goes back to poor parenting.
Seriously, like Tracy can't hold this whole family up on her back, okay? You know, she can't carry the weight of the world, and you needed to step up, Ethan Hawke. I really wish that
Listen,
she had just, you know, hightailed it out of there day 2. Be like, oh, you
she should
already
have
finished
gone
the
to her
whole bottle of whiskey,
sisters.
bye.
I like totally don't blame her for that though, because while she should have left, and I wrote in my notes 100 times, okay, leave him, babe. Like, again, it's been maybe 7 days. Like, who packs up their whole life and bounces with less than a week's notice? You know what I mean? Like, she's
Mm-hmm.
giving him a heads up. She's really trying to be like, you know what I mean? Like, she's giving him a small chance to get his life back on track, but it's not like it's been months, you know. She just got here, she just unpacked. I can totally not blame her for giving it 5 days before she was really ready to bail.
True, true. You know, she really loves him. You can tell that. And they are an aesthetically cute couple. So I was rooting for them, but I already knew it was going to happen. And Ethan Hawke was going to let her down.
I don't know. I didn't feel the chemistry between them. And we got a lot of filler scenes that I just felt were like kind of unnecessary. Like their fight could have been shorter. Their what's the other one at the beginning? Oh, where they're in the bedroom together and she's like, I'm gonna take the kids and leave, like, get your shit together. But like, I don't know, like, it was just dumb. Their chemistry wasn't great. I wasn't buying it. Like, do better.
I just was glad that there was at least like 2 or 3 scenes where it wasn't us just looking at Ethan Hawke's sweaty mug the whole time. Because though I do think he is hot, like this was the one man Ethan Hawke show, and I was like, it'd be cool to have like some talking with some other people a little bit more often. Just a little adds a little mix it up, you know. Give
I
me
wanted
something
more
different.
I wanted more of him and the deputy cop. I very much enjoyed their interactions together.
Yeah, like he took a minute to grow on me, but then I really liked Deputy So and So, and I felt like, you know, I mean, is it wise of him to be like, hello, I'm desperate to be in the acknowledgement section of a book, so I will give you crime scene information you probably shouldn't have? Like, no. And he's part of the whole system that, you know, we know is not great, which is just policing as a whole. But he's trying to be helpful, and he's also the only reasonable person in the room a lot of the time who has information, because Tracy is just like not being given any information to act on. Only Deputy So and So is there to be like, take a step back, look at your life, what's going on, are you losing it, are you in control, like, you think that there's someone here at night, like, you think that there's something paranormal going on, maybe think about that a little more instead of just like throwing yourself headfirst into this. But then as soon as Ethan Hawke finally understands the gravity of the situation, he ignores the connection that he unearthed earlier in the film. Like, he
Yeah.
was the one that first realized that the family had lived in one of the previous murder houses. He's the
Right.
one that put that together. Deputy So and So only did it way later when he realized it was every family. But like, you're telling me that if you're a true crime writer and you realize that, you're not going to look into that any further, and then you're going to be like, it's not a big deal if I also move. Like, I don't know. I just felt like he should have seen that coming. And I was not at all surprised when Deputy So and So was like, okay, you just put yourself in the timeline.
Yeah, Deputy So and So
So,
freaking cracked the case, but it also kind of goes to show like how much Ethan Hawke was deteriorating throughout the film, you know, because like that's a pretty obvious thing to forget about, like such a early on like big clue. Like that's not a coincidence. So obviously the whiskey has gotten to him.
what would have happened if they stayed in the house and the kids grew up and they were like teenagers? You know what I mean? Like, what if they're like 16? Is that still considered a kid? Like, is a teenager a child? Does it have an age limit? Does Bagul have a certain age limit that he
He said,
considers?
once
Like,
you hit puberty, you're not for me.
yeah,
Dark.
like So what happens if they just stayed? Because obviously Tracy didn't notice anything. Like, what would have happened if they never moved? Would
This
they have
is
gotten him anyways?
Yeah, this is where it kind of gets into our theories territory, our theorizing moment, because we don't really know necessarily that the move is an essential part of the formula, or if the move is like a byproduct of the formula. Like, is Bagul not ever getting them until they've moved from the murder house to a new house because they don't watch the film until they're unpacking things at their new house? Like, does Bagul not get them until they move because the children haven't seen anything until then? You know what I mean? Like, we don't have a lot of answers necessarily for how the move factors in. We don't know, like, did they move to their new home and they lived there for 7 years before somebody found the tape? Like, there is just a lot of gray space here that we can try to fill in, but we don't know that if he had stayed, it's very possible that, like, Ashley was on the verge of, like, going family destroyer anyway. You know what I mean? We don't know that it
Yeah.
wouldn't have happened in the same house.
I feel like because it happened that way every single time that it's like a ritual kind of thing. And maybe like the like maybe the terror that occurs in the original home is part of it, but like there's like some sort of like protection being in the original home, but then once they're like unstable, like that is like upended, and like the fear has obviously gotten to them enough that they're forced to flee. That's what opens up the final bit so they can really go in and snatch Ashley and turn her into a annihilation murder lady, you know?
Bagul is like, now that I've studied real estate and familiarized myself with how real estate works, I know that a house with 2 murders is never going to sell again. So only 1 murder per home.
That's what I was thinking too. Like he's like, okay, we got to go to a new house so people will be like, oh, it was a one-time thing, and then they'll move in. Or he's like, I've already tasted the blood of St. Louis people. I would like to try someone in Orange County. That's not the timeline of it, but maybe he's like, I want to diversify the cities that I go into. Try
Mr.
some new
Bagul has like a
blood.
refined palate and he's a foodie. He wants to mix it up.
Exactly. He's like, "Oh, what would a New Yorker taste like? Let me see how that would go."
I like how
I
you
get that.
slipped in a little New York accent there. Just a taste
I
of
already
it.
I already said gabagool on this, so like we had to do it one more time.
What's Bagul's timeline? Because at the end, when Dr. Jonas Brothers is talking and they're like, there's not much of him because they believe they burned all the pictures of him. The Super 8 films started in the 60s, I believe. And so he was able to do film, but this movie is set in 2012 and we see him being uploaded on to a computer.
Ugh,
What happens if he goes viral on Twitter or something like that? Like,
dude.
how many houses like could he theoretically attack at one single time?
No, totally. That's the fear that I had, and I can't remember what happens in Sinister 2, and I don't think it's that. But like he lives in the image. So like that so he could be anywhere as long as the image of him exists, you know?
Once they find the axed family and they recover Ethan Hawke's laptop and they take it in for evidence and they recover those files, like, everybody at the police form is fucked. This leads me to my next theory, which is
Ooh.
that Mr. Boogie is not one demon. Mr. Boogie is perhaps a class of demons. And so each new household outside of the original, like, this one Mr. Boogie likes Super 8. Like, that's his medium. You know what I mean? But if you put this on YouTube and people watched it, like, would that birth a spawn of new Mr. Boogies? And now you've got like 1 million new Mr. Boogies out there for each view on the video.
I feel like Mr. Boogie's one guy, but y'all, he's a demon. He's like beyond the mortal plane. He can be in multiple places at once and do all that shit. He's got it in him.
But like, does he have a haunting schedule where he's like, oh, well, I've got to go through the internet and haunt this person from 5 to 6. Oh no, gotta haunt this person from 2 to 3.
Like he's in the pool at one person's house and then he gets like a ping on his phone and he's like, shit, I gotta be in New Zealand like now. I gotta be like, I was trying to think of something that happens in New Zealand. I gotta taste that kiwi baby like right now. See you later.
Maybe there's only one Mr. Boogie, but there are different little covens of dead children, and this is just like one dead children coven. And then he's got like another coven in New Zealand and like one in France and like, you know.
Totally. I can see that. Something that I just wanted to bring up because it means the world to me. Like they actually filmed the Super 8 footage on Super 8 cameras and it like caused a lot of issues because they had to actually film like people like semi drowning for the pool party one. And they were like, "Oh yeah, we got to time this right." And then also like not have everyone die. Like it seemed like there were a lot of like cursed things happening on the set of this film. Like also when they first were rigging up the stuntmen to all get hung, like as the first family that we see, they did it wrong and they actually kind of hung a bunch of the stuntmen and they were fine. They didn't die, but like they almost died. Like okay, cursed. Bagool's real.
Mr. Boogie's here to party.
It's like poltergeist. It's a real thing.
Yeah, I hope that's not the shot that we see in the film.
No,
I don't need that cursed footage in my life. Once again, like Sydney would open the box and watch the director's cut. I maybe would not. And that's just like the duality of man, you know, like we're two different people. Like it's beautiful. Everybody is unique, but also whatever. Again, just not for me. So I'm hoping that they burned that film the way that Ethan Hawke tried to burn the film in the movie.
It just keeps coming back. You can't get rid of it.
It didn't work.
I hope it worked in real life. I mean, I don't need Mr. Boogie in my household.
You've watched the movie now, so.
Although I did have the thought at one point where I was like, I love Mr. Boogie. I want to be Mrs. Boogie. So, like, maybe I do. I don't know. It's complicated.
Wow. Okay. Dark. I'm happy for you guys, though. You know? He's tall.
Thank you.
He's tall and mysterious.
And like I'm ready to be a stepmom, but I'm not ready to be like a real mom. You know what I mean? So like I could take in this coven of dead children.
100%.
Okay. Also with the dead children, their level of decay made no actual sense to me. Like the Stephanie, the girl who was most recently murdered, was like very decayed, and the little boy that killed his family by the pool party had almost no decay on him. And I was just like, does Mr. Boogie like eating Stephanie soul more than he maybe likes eating the little pool boy's soul?
I feel like
Ew.
it's just arbitrary, spooky degradation over time.
It made no sense because the kid who died in the 60s, he should have been the most decayed, and so on and so forth. But it just made no chronological sense.
I feel like they shouldn't be decaying if they're ghost babies. Like they should just do what babies do when they die, and it's turn into a ghost and look exactly like how you were on the moment of your death. That's how it works. That's how you get your ghost outfit.
But I think Bagool is like feeding on them. That's the thing. Like he like eats he like lives on their souls. So I think while he makes them do that, he brings them into his world and then slowly feeds on them.
Is he perhaps eating the decay off of them? And that's why the boy from the 60s has the least decay, because he's like nibbling that moss as it grows?
Maybe he's just hasn't gotten to the newer dead children yet.
Hi,
He's like,
I hate
we're
this.
saving later.
I hate this.
Listen, we go into the deep discourse that nobody is willing to touch.
We're
here on
gonna talk
Spooky
about the
Tuesday.
stuff that that no one, it would never even occur to you to think
Answering the
about
questions
these
you
things.
did not know you had.
Okay, but here's
Nobody
the
asked
question.
for this, but here we are.
Here's a question that I do have, and I feel like other people had. It's, what is your favorite death in this movie? And I know we talked about squad death, but like, what is your favorite squad's death?
Okay, so how many tapes are there? Are there like
There's
how many
5
are we shown?
when he
Yeah.
finds them, and then there's 6 including the one that Ashley makes at the end.
Yeah. So there's barbecue, pool party, lawn, and sleepy time, and then house painting.
And hanging out, family hanging out.
And hanging out, sorry.
Okay. I loved the lawnmower one. It was the most unsettling because it's the last one we're shown.
Mm-hmm.
And in all the other snuff films, you see creepy, weird footage of like a nice family, and then you see like horrible, tragic death. And in this one, it's literally just a lawnmower and a flashlight on the ground, and it's just like lawnmower, 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 lawnmower. And then it just immediately cuts to Ethan Hawke as they're running over the heads of the
Oh my
family with
God.
the lawnmower. And the music in this movie is so unsettling. That's the best part about this movie. It's
Boys of Canada, y'all.
It's what makes this movie so scary and so unsettling. And then in the director's cut, you just see this like tiny, cute, adorable girl in a yellow poncho, and she's just like, "Hi, I just murdered my family." Shh. And it's like, what the fuck? It was the most unnerving for me.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like probably one of the most unexpected and like disturbing deaths I've seen in any horror film. Like, and you don't even actually see it, but you don't have to. Like, oh my God, just will be having night terrors about that myself tonight. So wonderful, very excited.
I liked that one because there is a perhaps little known film called Terror Track 3. I haven't seen the first Terror Tracks, but they filmed Terror Track 3, part of it, at my neighbor's house. They wanted to film it at my house, but we were going on vacation, so my parents said no, which is so rude. But they filmed it at my neighbor's house, so I watched it in like the 5th grade. And there is a lawnmower over a cat's head moment in that film. And so for me, it was like a fun little throwback, like a little, was it referencing Terror Track 3? No, I'm sure it wasn't, but maybe it was, because we can't prove that it didn't. Terror Track 3 definitely came out first. But okay, I also have to give a shout out to Sleepy Time, not necessarily because I thought that murder was the best, but because I really liked when he was watching the film. First of all, just him setting up the camera in general was like so ASMR for me. But when he's watching that one, it shows the film as like the family is lying in bed and they've got their little chihuahua just like calmly sitting there between them. But it doesn't show the murder on screen exactly. It cuts back to Ethan Hawke as he's watching, and you see their throats get slit in the reflection of his glasses.
Ooh, so well done.
So I loved the cinematography of that shot. That part I really liked. But my favorite actual death had to be the pool party, because I don't think it was the first one we saw, but it was like so unsettling to realize that like they were all tied down to the lawn chairs, and the lawn chairs were just like slowly dragged into the pool. And that, I mean, you know, I wouldn't want to die in any of these ways, but to be restrained on the bottom of a pool seemed like particularly horrifying to me.
And their little feetsies after they go into the water, like all they can do is wiggle their toes to try to get out. Like that was so disturbing. I like really like visualized myself like in that scenario, and I was like, I'd be able to get out, and I'm like, no, you wouldn't, Monica. Your collarbone is broken. You wouldn't be able to do anything. But God, that's like, and also just like the horror of all of these families, because like you don't know it when you're first watching all of these snuff videos, but like it's their freaking beloved child doing this to them, and they haven't gotten as deep as Ethan Hawke to know that Bagul is even a part of this. So they're like, little Tommy has gone off the rails and has tied me up, covered me in gasoline, and put me in the car and just is about to blow me up. Like this is unexpected to say the least.
Well, and one thing that we learn is how these teeny tiny small children are murdering their family is they're drugging them, and I want to know, where do they get the drugs from?
But
Like,
cool.
he just gives them poison to drug his whole
He's
family?
not only eating children's souls, he's a drug dealer to children.
He's a
That's
fucking
too
drug
far.
dealer. Y'all, in the last scene, right as Ethan Hawke's like, I don't feel so good, and he looks in his mug has like a mystical green fluid in it. Like it's a magic green neon fluid. That's some magic demon shit.
That's
not
true.
your average drug.
Deputy so-and-so said they never found out like exactly what was used to drug the families, just that the
Yeah.
families were drugged.
Yeah.
Ah.
And
So
also,
it's just like spooky jizz in a cup, basically.
It's just like some
what if-
ectoplasm.
yes. I like the word ectoplasm to be used
More
over
than spooky jizz.
Spooky
but
jizz in a
now-
cup.
But now that's what I'm thinking of. And so thank you, Sydney, for that one. I also just love, like, okay, so he just realized that the kids are killing everybody, which, like, he should have realized before. And then he looks at his cup, and then he sees the little note from his baby girl, and it says, "Good night, Daddy." Oh my God. Beautifully shot. Wonderful. Incredible. Very unsettling. I'm never having children.
I want like 4 kids. Like, even after this, I'm like, you know what? If this is how I'm gonna go, by my children murdering me in very creative and imaginative ways, then that's how I was meant to go.
I hate that for you, but like I won't stand in the way of your happiness. You know what I mean?
Like,
Thank you.
follow your destiny, girl. Like, live your truth.
Okay. So we all agree that Ethan Hawke did a really good job. But do you think that Matthew Lillard would have done a better job?
Okay. I feel like that's so hard. I feel like Matthew Lillard now would have knocked it out of the park for sure, 100%. But I don't know if I want him to replace Ethan Hawke. I could like him as Deputy So-and-so. I feel like he could play a little meek nerd boy too. Very well. And then I don't have to see him die.
I would have also been down to see him as Professor Jonas.
Oh, that's actually so good. Because I was like, there's just not a lot of room in this movie for Matthew Lillard.
No.
But that's a good one.
Like,
Yeah.
I think he would have done, because he's older, know what I mean? Like, they could have made him go gray a little bit. So, like,
Mhm.
he could have been, like, real sexy. But he is exactly the kind of weird occult professor that would be brought in to, like, help solve murders. Like, that is exactly the kind of vibe I would get from him.
Yeah, I would have loved him in Ethan Hawke's role. I think he would have done amazing, and I think he would have combined that cuckolded energy that I keep talking about with that unhinged energy he also brings.
True.
And I think if they want to remake Sinister, it should be with Matthew Lillard. But Professor Jonas Brothers is excellent casting as well.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't overshadow the rest of the film, but it's like a
Mhm.
beautiful surprise. And like Matthew Lillard would know these answers, like just as Dr. Jonas Brothers knows. So that makes
Right?
sense.
Like,
to me.
he
It
would
checks
just
out. It's believable.
know. Like, I believe him in that role.
I will say I did have one big criticism about this movie, and that's like just not a lot of room for it to get much gayer. I guess you could
so
make
true.
it would be pretty easy to make one of the families on the tape like have two dads or two moms or whatever. Like that would not be hard to do. You don't really see much of those families, so I don't know that like that would cut it for me. But I don't know. I'm always looking for where a movie could be gayer, and on this one I just wrote in my notes like not a lot of room here.
Tracy could have been a man.
Yeah.
True.
2012, Ethan Hawke and Tracy could have been, you know what I mean? Like, he could have been Trace.
That's true.
Ellis and Trace.
I feel like Deputy So-and-so could have been motivated not just by reverence for Ethan Hawke's books, but also for pure undying love for him. I feel
A
like
little
that could have
crushy
been
crush.
good. It could have been a crush, not just being like a fan.
We haven't seen the sequel. Maybe
Oh.
he looks into it because his love has been murdered. Maybe.
Professor Jonas Brothers also could have had a husband. You know what I mean? Like that would have been an easy way to throw things in. Instead, he just had whoever Jessica was walking around the frame around him.
Oh,
Who are
Jessica.
you, Jessica. She probably made those scans for him, so Jessica is a hero in her own right, but she does.
Is she,
kind of
or is she just
participate-
further
Yeah.
spreading the Mr. Boogie image?
She's just doing what she's told. Poor Jessica. Don't blame Jessica. She's just
Jessica
a pawn
doesn't
in Jonas
know.
Brothers' game, okay?
She's just a Joe Bros fan who got in too deep.
And weren't we all at one point, you know?
We've all been there.
Okay, so we've said it. We've been beating around the bush this entire episode, but we gotta give out officially the Dumb Bitch Award. And like, come on, we like if we could even if I could make it so we could say it all in unison, I know that we would, but I know we'd also fuck it up if we tried to say it all in unison. So who wants to say it?
I will give out some honorary dumb bitch awards. You know
Okay,
what I mean? I would say the sheriff is kind of a dumb bitch. Very rude right off the bat to be like, you're not welcome here. We don't like you. Please leave town. And then the second that they do leave town, he's like, why are you leaving town? It's just like, come on. Like, what do you want from us here? So I thought he was kind of a dumb bitch. I thought Ethan Hawke was a dumb bitch for like small reasons as well. Like, falling through the ceiling and then being like, no, I don't need to go to the emergency room. Like, that's dumb. Like, you should go to the emergency room. You don't know what's going on. There was clearly a snake in your attic. Like, let's maybe just get some things checked out.
Ethan Hawke, you just drank an entire bottle of whiskey and now you're bleeding. Like, you're gonna bleed out. Like, you need to go to the hospital. That's a blood thinner.
Yeah, Deputy So-and-so I did like, but also he was a little bit of a dumb bitch being like, if I sneak you secret police files, can I be acknowledged within your book? And being like, well, squirrels don't, what did he say? Snakes don't have feet, so it wouldn't have been snakes that you heard. Like, squirrels have feet, scorpions have feet, but they're very small. So small, dumb bitch
obvious.
But yeah, ultimately, there's really only one dumb bitch worth discussing.
Oh yeah, it's
Ethan
Mr.
Hawke.
Ethan Hawke, aka Ellison Oswald. He's just at every turn, and we've said this a million times this episode, he does the wrong fucking thing, and he deserved it in the end. But the fact that it led to beautiful Tracy being maimed as well, and Trevor seemed like he would have turned out to be a cool kid after a while. Ashley too. It's all Ethan Hawke's fault, and so he's a dumb bitch. I hate him.
He's a dumb bitch. He watched these cursed films. He watched them again. He set them on fire trying to destroy them. He moved after he made the connection about a family moving. I just feel like, did he do anything right? I don't think so.
Not a damn thing. This is what happens when you let fame fuel you. Keep this in mind for when we all become famous from this podcast. Okay? Don't let this happen to us, all right? I won't let this happen to you guys.
Thank you, Monica.
I'll do everything.
I feel safer now.
You're welcome. I'm here for you.
No, it's definitely him. He fucking sucked. Even though he did have the best sweater game in the biz, so I will give him points
I
for
bet
cozy.
Tracy bought that for him.
Yes, but he was man enough to wear it.
Okay.
True.
Fine. That's the only credit we'll give him.
No, that's all he deserves, is that while he did display a extreme level of toxic masculinity from just thinking about himself and fame, he was also gentle enough to rock the fuck out of a cable knit sweater.
We
All
love
right.
a cable knit.
But it doesn't redeem him.
Nope. Any man could wear a
Official.
sweater.
He is the dumb bitch of this episode.
Mm-hmm. One of the
Huzzah.
dumbest bitches we've seen thus far on the pod.
Honestly, yeah.
Definitely.
So
Okay.
dumb.
So, I mean, it's time. We gotta do it. We gotta rate the damn thing. What are your knives out of 5s?
Okay, context first. This movie got 6.8 out of 10 on IMDb. It got 63% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes from critics and 61% fresh from the audience. And also, not only did we think it was scary, but it is universally considered one of the scariest movies of all time because in 2020, Forbes magazine conducted a study called the Science of Scare Project, where they put heart monitors on people watching the movie and they monitored their heart rate. And out of the 35 films that they showed people, this movie had like the highest average resting heart rate, which was 86. And they had it spiking at 131 beats per minute. I don't know how your heart is supposed to go, but that seems big to be like 2 per second plus. So this movie won the scariest title. We definitely think it's the scariest movie we've seen, but do you think it's the best? Like, where does it fall in your knives out of 5s?
Okay, so I hyped this movie up a lot leading into it, and I think it definitely still lives up to that hype, but I definitely think it's not as rewatchable as I thought it was going to be because it is so deeply fucked and so disturbing, like you don't forget. So you can't relive the joy of the surprise over and over again. It's like, nope, I remember, and now I'm just waiting to watch that little girl just maim her parents' face with a freaking lawnmower, and I'll never unsee it. So a little bit less good than the first time around, but still brilliant. Such a good concept. Such a fun name for the scary bad guy, Gabagool. Like, where'd they come up with that? No, but Bagool is good. And Mr. Boogie. Like, I love a scary guy with like a little kid kind of name. Like, that adds to the spooky factor. So for me, I'm gonna give this one, I don't know if it's my best score thus far, but definitely high up there. I'm gonna give it a 4.7326. There we go. That's
I think
it.
that is your highest score, actually.
All right. Well, I stand by that. I feel that in my soul.
This is a 5 out of 5 for me. I, even with, like, yes, did I know what was going to happen? Yes. Was I still incredibly spooked? Absolutely. Like, it's so good. The concept is, like, it's super original.
Totally.
Like, and I'm just like, I fucking love this movie. And it's not one of the movies, like, it's not a comfort movie. Like, Scream is a comfort movie to me, so I'm constantly rewatching it. This movie is not a comfort movie, and so I don't watch it as often. So it might be like a year or two, and then I'll watch it, and then I am scared all over again because you're just like, oh my god, and then you're like, oh, the rush, the thrill of
it
finishing a
all.
scary movie.
Yeah, this one's so disturbing. I don't know if I'm gonna watch it again ever, but I think I'm gonna have to because Adam didn't watch with me today and he wants to see it. So I guess I'm gonna have to put myself through this disturbing torture one more time. And you know what? I'll do it for Ethan Hawke. I'll do it for Adam. Chelsea, what do you think? It was your first watch. Like, tell us.
I really liked it. I did think it was very scary. There were a lot of moments that gave me the creeps, that gave me chills all over my body. That said, it didn't really stay with me, you know what I mean? Like it didn't stick around in a way that I was thinking about it much afterwards. Like I really liked it. I would watch it again. I would show it to other people. I would absolutely enjoy myself, but it didn't have like, other than being really scary, which I think it was, there wasn't something that stood out about it for me. So while I am going to give it a 4.5, which I think is still a very good score,
I
it's like,
respect
it was, yeah, that's what I gave the Babadook. And for me, it was like scarier than the Babadook, but not necessarily as good as the Babadook, because the Babadook was like very powerful and meaningful.
I see
And so
that.
it kind of like, it goes up a peg, but then it gets knocked down a peg. And it's just not a favorite for me the way that Scream and Scream 3 are. So for me, it's 4.5 knives out of fives.
I respect that. And
That's very respectable.
yeah, it's not, it doesn't teach you a lesson in the end like the Babadook does. So like I feel you. I feel you there.
And not a single gay icon to be found.
Ugh, very disappointing.
Okay, guys, that is it for us here at Spooky Tuesday. Next week is Thanksgiving week, so we're gonna hit you with a fun holiday treat. We are gonna be watching a movie that none of us have heard about until today, and it is called Thanksgilling.
Yeah, we watched the trailer before we started recording, and I have to say immediately off the bat, yikes. But I am intrigued, you know? So, like, we're very curious to see where this goes.
I feel like it's going to be fucked up in more ways than one. Like probably like wrong and uncouth.
Problematic for sure.
Problematic for sure. But you know, we will dive right to the heart of it and just dissect the shit out of it. But let us just tell you, watch the trailer, watch the movie for sure. But God, the I don't even know. Is that a puppet that they use for the evil turkey?
You can't.
For a murderous turkey.
I think it's just a hand puppet. And it's beautiful and it's so poorly done that it's scary in its own right. So join us. It'll be a bunch of laughs. All right. So if you like what you heard, make sure you're following us on all of our social media. That's at spooky_Tuesday on both Twitter and Instagram. And if you're still on Facebook, we're facebook.com/spookytuesdaypod. And if you really, really, really love us, and only if you love us, if you hate us, turn it off right now and don't listen. Please go to Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star review. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for listening.
Yay! Spooky Tuesday was created by Monica Haidt, Sydney Thompson, and Chelsea Duff, and edited by Sydney Thompson. Our gorgeously spooky tunes are all thanks to Tamara Simons, who you can follow on Instagram at Captain Tamara, and our podcast art is by Mary Murphy, who you can find on Instagram at the_moon_OMG.
Don't worry, Daddy. I'll make you famous again.